Hello, welcome. Hey, Graham.
Hey Rodney, hello everyone.
Hello, welcome. This is our latest EasyWP webinar, how to securely launch your WordPress site. And we've got a lot of people already coming in. Look at like all these places all over the world. Trying
Yeah,
to
I see
see
some
some
people
of
have
this.
post where they're joining us from Brunswick in Maine and US,
Yeah, absolutely.
Albany, Georgia. We'd love to hear from where else in the world you're all joining us from, guys.
Yes, and I'm Rodney. If you've been to a webinar before, you know me, and I'm in the United States in Oklahoma City. But Graham is new to these webinars. Graham, where are you joining us from?
Yeah. Disclaimer, guys. It's. I've only got a few times of experience doing webinars, so give me a break. But yeah, I'm from the UK, but I'm based in Athens, Greece, and
Well, welcome.
it's good to be here.
And Grant, you've been with EasyWP a really long time. Just your first time on a webinar.
Exactly. I mean, I was the former marketing manager of EasyWP, just for everyone. I've been at Namecheap for 8 years. I'm now director of brand and product marketing, kind of across the product categories. But yeah, EasyWP has a special place in my heart because it's where I started with, basically, and it's been great to see EasyWP grow throughout the years.
Yeah, absolutely. And people have been chiming in the chat. Nigeria,
Oh,
France, Indonesia, people from everywhere.
welcome, guys. South Africa,
Puerto
Puerto
Rico, a little
Rico,
closer to me. Yeah.
Bangladesh. Hello, Bangladesh. Excellent.
This is amazing.
Yeah, brilliant.
So, Graham, do you want to kind of go over the agenda that we've got for today? Let
Yeah.
people know some of that stuff.
So yeah, welcome again, guys. Great to have you with us. And before we get into all the good stuff, let me just run through a couple of housekeeping items. So we're recording the webinar. If you need to step away, no worries. We'll send you an email with a link to the recording so you can catch up or rewatch any part you like. Unfortunately, StreamYard doesn't support live captions, so we'll upload this video onto Namecheap's YouTube channel after the webinar, and you'll be able to watch it with captions. Also, as part of today's session, we'll be using EasyWP for a live demo. Just for those unfamiliar, EasyWP is a secure, powerful, and really user-friendly managed WordPress hosting solution, which is designed to help you simplify how you manage your website and manage WordPress. So even though we're using EasyWP today, make that clear that the majority of tips that we'll discuss and show are applicable to any WordPress user, regardless of the hosting solution you're using. And then also we have a wonderful backstage team, Kate, Nika, and Olena. Hi. They'll be helping us in the chat with any product-related questions you might have during the webinar. And last but not least, we've got some really cool stuff to give away to all you guys, our webinar attendees today. So one lucky winner will receive a $100 gift card. Another lucky winner will get $50 of credit to their Namecheap account. And we also have some secret surprises in store for 5 lucky winners. We'll reveal those after our Q&A session. So please stick around. Just to clarify as well on the prizes, all prize winners will be selected randomly, and we'll announce those after the Q&A session is over as well. Plus, everyone who's attending today will receive an exclusive discount on EasyWP. You'll get savings of up to 75% off on all the yearly plans, with the rate starting as low as $1.48 per month. You can find the special offer link pinned at the top of the chat there. But that's it. Let's get started without delay with today's webinar. Rodney, over to you.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you. I'm excited for those prizes. It's always fun uh, hearing who the winners are at the very end and hoping that they're still with us at the end. But we've got a lot to cover about website security between now and then. So just to kind of let you know, before we dive into things, some of the things that we'll cover common types of WordPress vulnerabilities, things that you often see in WordPress, because the tips that we'll give you today will help you stay prepared for the things that have the greatest potential to encounter. So we'll go over those common types of vulnerabilities. We'll talk about the security features to look for when you're choosing a hosting provider. I know a lot of you may be with EasyWP already, but there may be some of you that work with other WordPress hosting. And of course, everything that we talk about today is applicable to that as well. But we'll talk about what to look for. We'll also talk about activating and managing some of the WordPress security features, like auto updates and some other things. We'll show you how to get those set up on any WordPress website. And then we'll have a Q&A session at the end for all of your security related questions. If you have questions about EasyWP, our great backstage team will be answering a lot of those in the chat throughout the hour that we're here together. But then we'll do some questions live at the end as well. And I know, Graham, we've been talking and prepping for this. And I know that you had pulled together some stats on some of the recent WordPress security breaches, just to kind of set the table for the other
Yeah,
things
yeah.
we'll serve today.
Exactly. It's always nice to have a bit of context as well, because as we know with WordPress and generally on the web, security is a really, really important issue, and as much as it's ever been actually. So yeah, let's just go through. So numbers speak louder than any words I can say. Some of the compelling stats that we've got here really underscore the importance of protecting your WordPress website. So every single minute, around 90,000 attacks target WordPress sites across the globe. So this is quite a staggering number, and it reflects the platform's huge popularity and why it's so often targeted by cyber threats. Additionally, a significant 70% of WordPress websites have experienced at least one security incident. So really, those who haven't experienced it, they're really few and far between. And that showcases just how important, how I would say, how frequent security threats are, and how pervasive they are within the WordPress community. Often, a lot of the forums that probably a lot of you guys follow are often dominated with discussions about security and the latest kind of attack. And a major contributing factor to these security breaches, let's say, is outdated software. So more than 60% of hacked sites were running on old versions of WordPress or its plugins and themes at the time of the actual attack. So this fact really highlights the critical necessity of keeping your WordPress installation always up to date, including your plugins, so you can be best protected to fend off such attacks.
Yes, that's great information. And I'm going to go into some of the common types of WordPress vulnerabilities that we see a lot and explain more about those. But before we get into that, I would also just encourage you, as I'm looking at the chat here, feel free to go ahead and share your questions. If we talk about something that's maybe new to you or something that you're not exactly sure how that applies to your WordPress site.
A nice comment there from Victoria about with free AI for everyone, malware got so much worse. Really, really true.
Yeah.
It's a minefield out there now, guys.
Yeah, that is absolutely true. And we see more stories about it every single day. But any questions that you have as we go through, just share those in the chat, and we'll kind of round up some of those questions to answer live at the end. So now let's go into some of the common types of vulnerabilities that we see. So the first thing on the list is weak passwords. And this is one of the simplest things to fix because WordPress, hacking into your password or finding passwords, for example, a duplicated password. If you use the same password to get into your WordPress site that you use for any other platform, a data breach on another platform could lead to somebody discovering how to get into the back end of your WordPress site. So we're going to talk about some ways to avoid having password vulnerabilities, but that's the number one way people will hack into a WordPress site is through the password. And as Graham already also mentioned, vulnerable themes and plugins. We see news all the time. We follow the WordPress news very closely here at Namecheap and EasyWP. And so we see, news of plugins that were exploited by hackers. And a lot of them, if they, once that sort of loop or that hole in the plugin is discovered, hackers will try to exploit that until it's repaired. And so there's some very important maintenance things that we'll talk about later on in this webinar. SQL injection is something a little bit more cryptic. It has to do with hackers coming into the actual database of files that make up your site, and using code to kind of trick your database into giving them sensitive information or letting them into the admin panel of your website. And again, things that we'll talk about today will help you avoid that. That's more of a back end kind of exploitation. And then the fourth thing that seems most common when it comes to WordPress vulnerabilities is cross-site scripting. And the most general example of that would be somebody that comes to your website and leaves a comment on a blog post or a comment on a page, or somehow plugs some malicious code into your actual page. And if that gets published, if that appears on the page, it can actually get that code, that malicious code, into the browser of someone else who visits your website. Um, and so it's really important to avoid all four of these and use some of the tools that we're going to talk about in order to do that. And I think we have a recent example, don't you, Graham, of kind of a recent attack that we did see in the news?
Yeah, definitely. Just before I get onto that, I see there's a lot of comments, and we can see living evidence here of what the guys are typing in the chat. Of most people have some experience here of actually being hacked
Oh,
or
wow.
having some security problems. So you can see how important it is. But yeah, again, for some more context, and it's always good, not that we want to spread fear or anything, we just make awareness about why staying updated really matters. You may or may not know about the January this year malware attack. So this is a real world example of how outdated kind of installations can lead to really significant security breaches. So yeah, this past January, hackers managed to hijack WordPress websites, and security researchers found that the attackers were exploiting outdated versions of WordPress and plugins. So they altered thousands of websites to trick visitors into downloading and installing malware. The primary aim of these hackers was to actually spread the malware that could steal passwords and other personal information from users of both Windows and Mac. So it didn't matter if you're using a Windows or Mac, they were able to hack you. The attackers targeted websites that were running outdated versions of WordPress and its plugins, using known vulnerabilities to gain unauthorized access. And then once they infiltrated these websites, the second part is the hackers then injected scripts that altered the website content to display fake update notifications to visitors. These aren't easy to spot. And when the compromised WordPress site was loaded in a visitor's browser, it quickly displayed a fake Chrome browser update page. This page then deceived visitors into believing that they needed to download and install an update to view the website content properly. So if a visitor then clicked to accept the update, the site then prompted them to download a file masquerading as the browser update. So as you can see, it's really kind of the steps that hackers can do. It's kind of scary, but we'll shed light on ways to protect yourself against stuff like that. I just wanted to give you a real world and a recent example as a stark reminder, let's say, of why it's really crucial to update regularly all your components of your WordPress website.
Right. And like you said, like we're seeing some examples of experiences that people have had in the chat as well. So definitely lots of reasons to stay secure. I think that's why we've got so many people joining us today. Yeah, let's look at what are some of the security features that you want to look for when you're choosing a hosting provider. One of the top things is easy backups, because you want to make sure that you can restore a backup quickly in case you are compromised or have a data loss. If your website gets taken over, anything like that, you want another place where you can log in, quickly restore to a previous undiluted version of the site or uncompromised version of the site. So easy backups is really a huge thing. Strong SSL certificates is something that I really think is still very important. I've seen news recently, people saying, well, SSL certificates are not quite as important as they used to be. because everybody has them. Well, not every site has SSL certificates, unfortunately. I know that it's rare to find one that does not today, but there are still websites out there that kind of skip this step. And it's so important to have a good SSL certificate, a strong one, because it encrypts the data that's transferred between your site and your visitors. So it's a really simple way to get that installed on your website and really protect anybody that comes to your website from certain types of breaches. And then server level security measures. That's just having a hosting company that has invested in the technology, in that framework, so that we the servers that you use have those advanced configurations, monitoring tools, so that if there are bigger types of attacks out there on the internet, you're protected before those people ever even get to your website. We stop them on the server end before they ever get to you. And those are the three most important things that we could think of to mention when it comes to choosing a hosting provider. But we also have um, some other security features here at EasyWP that are kind of exclusive to us, in addition to those that we talked about. And so I think we're going to show you now, if you'd like to, Graham. Let's kind of show some of the things that are exclusive to EasyWP.
Yeah, exactly. Thanks, Rodney. Yeah. Forgive me for showing that. So we just wanted to show what we have from our side in terms of EasyWP, in terms of like extra security features to give you a bit more peace of mind. So once these are features that once you've kind of purchased an EasyWP plan, you'll get access to the EasyWP dashboard where you can easily manage your WordPress sites and all your security settings. So EasyWP includes all the essential features that we just covered. So really strong SSL, easy backups, and server level security measures. But in addition to that, we recently introduced the EasyWP Guardian suite. Now, this is a set of 3 tools that are designed to boost your site's security. It's got WordPress auto updates, it's got MalwareGuardian auto cleaning protection, and also HackGuardian. So let's take a closer look at each one. I believe Rodney's going to show us as I'm talking you through them, so you can get a brief idea of what they're about. So
Yep.
in terms of WordPress auto updates, so this feature keeps your plugins, themes, and WordPress core files up to date, which helps you to reduce vulnerabilities and keeps the website safe from breaches. This is included as standard with all these WP plans.
Yeah, and I could just demonstrate. I've got the EasyWP dashboard pulled up, and again, this is the EasyWP dashboard, but you may have other dashboard styles that have similar features. But we're going to show you how ours work. So once you've logged in to EasyWP, there's several tabs here along the top. Security, which we will look at soon, but in terms of the auto updates, those can be enabled right here under the WordPress section. And the first thing that you come up with when you enter that area now is automatic updates. I've kept it off on our little demo site here now, just so I can show you how easy it is to activate. You just click that little thing and your auto updates are in place. But then you can control it a little further. For most people, you'll want to keep all 4 of these areas below active. WordPress core updates, plugins, themes, and translations. Now, the one thing that I will mention, if there's anybody out there that has some custom code that's been developed for a theme or a plugin, you may want to have a little bit more hands-on control of those. So for those of you that have custom code that's been developed for your website, think about this very critically as you're turning on the auto updates. But for most people that are using, a paid theme, paid plugins from the WordPress repository, you can really safely keep all of these activated. And when they're updated automatically, it prevents some of those breaches from the exploitations, because these plugin developers, when any kind of hole is discovered, they work very, very quickly typically to get that resolved. And then as soon as the update launches, you'll have that on your website as well.
Okay, great. Thanks, Rodney. So that was the first one. The second feature of of the Guardian suite is MalwareGuardian auto cleaning protection. So every plugin or theme installed on your WordPress site increases the risk of cyber attacks. This makes a reliable malware scanner really essential. MalwareGuardian diligently scans your website for any threats, and it automatically removes any detected malware to keep your site and data secure. And this comes free with Turbo and Supersonic plans. Now you can easily turn on auto clean protection in the EasyWP dashboard. I think as well, Rodney, you can show us that, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm going to go to that security tab, still here in the EasyWP dashboard. We really tried to put so many things here together where you can kind of keep control of your site at any time from one central location. Now, the Malware Guardian, I did have that already enabled. If you ever, for any reason, need to turn that off, it's a simple click right here. But I keep my Malware Guardian on all the time because, as it says right here, continuously monitoring for malicious activity every 2 hours. And as you can see, fortunately, when I look at this right now, we have our scan results. No threats have been detected. No types of threats have been found. But if the scan does find that, we'll not only send you a notification and let you know, but you can find out more information about what we found here, in that scan. So that's where it's protected for you, and that's how you can check it on your own site.
Great, thanks, Rodney. And last but not least, HackGuardian. So this is our unique security feature which protects your site by turning your WordPress file system to a partial read-only mode. This means that only you can make changes. That's included with all plans as well. And Rodney, I think you can show us as well where the guys can use that.
Yes, yes. So under that same security tab, we have the HackGuardian where you can activate or deactivate. I've been working with some plugins, and so I've got it deactivated right now because it does prevent any software from being installed in your website. So since I've been working with plugins today, I've got it deactivated for now. But we do have a really good video, and I'm going to pull some of these other things off the screen here. I'm going to show you this video. It's got some. It walks you through the entire process of how it works, how to enable it, and things like that. So we'll be back with you at the end of this little clip. Say you need to install a certain plugin in the WordPress admin panel. Looks like an innocent plugin at first, but in fact, the plugin turns out to be vulnerable. The plugin is vulnerable to local file inclusion, opening the possibility for an attacker to execute code remotely. The hacker exploits this flaw and creates a new WordPress user with administrative privileges. Now they can access your WordPress admin panel and perform any actions to your website, like deleting users, modifying posts, etc. To protect your website from this type of attack, all you need to do is just enable HackGuardian in the EasyWP dashboard, and your website instantly switches to read-only mode. Now, even if a vulnerable plugin has been installed, HackGuardian will protect your website by preventing an unauthorized upload and modification of files. You can easily switch between read-write and read-only states whenever you need and in a matter of seconds. Don't give hackers any chances. Secure your site with HackGuardian today. All right, that was a pretty good overview. I really love this tool, and once we launched it here at EasyWP, I talk about it all the time because it really is unique to our hosting. Yeah, so I'm going to now go into demonstrating how to implement some additional things. Again, these are security features. I'll be using the EasyWP system to demonstrate these, but these apply to any WordPress site. Graham, I'm going to let you take a little bit of a break, and then I'll bring you back after we're done with all this. All right?
No worries.
We'll see you soon. Okay, so the first thing we want to talk about, or the next thing I would like to talk about, are SSL certificates. And so with EasyWP, we offer free positive SSL with our hosting service, and you can come in after you set up your site. you do need to let us know that you want to take advantage of that free SSL certificate. And you do that again here at the EasyWP dashboard. This is back on the first tab, on that overview tab. You scroll down to under website and you have SSL certificate right here, and you can click manage. So if this is your first time setting up your site, you can go in here, check that, make sure that you've got it set up to use that free positive SSL certificate. This would be after you've connected your domain, all of those preliminary things that the wizard will lead you through. But we do also offer you the opportunity to install a custom SSL certificate. And for a lot of websites, the free positive SSL is going to give you all the protection that you need. But you still might want to install a custom SSL certificate. Say that you have multiple websites and you already own an enterprise level SSL certificate that validates the authenticity of your company at large. And that's something that you've purchased. You can add that to your EasyWP site as well. There are also certain benefits if you're a newer website, or if you just want to have an SSL certificate that allows you to display a certain badge in the footer, just to kind of give visitors that extra sense of security, that this is a secure encrypted site. You can install that here, and then take advantage of any kind of badge or anything that you want to put in that footer. But for now, for my website, that free positive SSL does every job that it needs to do, and I'll leave that active here. So we've talked a lot about backups, and I'll just go back into the explanation of why backups are important. Because if you've had a breach on your website, it's happened to me, and something goes wrong, being able to come right back in here to the dashboard and restore one of these previous backups that I've made here is absolutely crucial for getting your website back online. And so I'll just kind of show you here. So I've got a daily backup that I made just a couple of hours ago as I was getting ready to prep my website to demo all these things on this webinar. And if you go to the three dots menu right over here, you can either download that previous backup or you can click restore. And with just that click, if your website has gone down due to malicious code, it will restore your website to that backup, and more often than not, will get you right up and running again right away. And so to create a backup here, I'm just going to put live demo backup. You can give it any name. You can give it the name, a date, whatever is going to be important for you to remember what you do right after you create that backup. You just put in the name, you click it, and within a few seconds, there it is. And it's ready. It's ready and there for you. We keep 10 backups saved right there for you to use. So that's backups. And there's also secure passwords is something that we've talked about a lot. And I know that, early on, one of the things that we mentioned is it's actually the most common way that people gain access to a website is by guessing a password and through a breach elsewhere, finding a reused password and then getting into your WordPress site. And so one of the things that's very important, the first thing I'll mention, is just to never duplicate a password from any site. I know it's hard to remember all of them, and that's why we suggest using some sort of password management tool. And I know that browsers kind of have their own password management tools, but there's other tools that you can get that work very, very well and offer advanced features. More flexibility, can be used across platforms. A really good example of this is Bitwarden. They have Chrome browser extensions that you can use. You can log in online. There's apps for your smartphone, and it's a really great, reputable company. But one of the things I'm bringing up here today is their free password generator. So whether you decide to use Bitwarden as your password manager or not, you can use this free password generator, which really helps you prevent having those vulnerable websites. We've talked about, or those vulnerable passwords. We've talked about the duplicated passwords, but it's very, very common for people still to use sort of their pet's name and the street that they were born on, or certain pieces of information, facts from their life, their birthday, their anniversary, and sort of turn that into a password that they save. Well, if somebody's really trying to get into your website, and this is, a real live hacker that's specifically targeting you, some of those pieces of information can be found online, can be found on social media. Um, they can also, for example, if another platform has been exploited and that hacker sees that you've used the name of your pet and the name of your hometown, for example, as your password, they might try variations of that, or use their bots to try variations of that to get into your website. So the most secure way that you can create passwords for your WordPress site or anywhere is a random password of letters, numbers, and a lot of sites will require now, uh, you know, uh, characters such as an exclamation point or a pound sign, something like that. So the most secure password that you can have is this string of letters, numbers, and characters. To use passwords like this, though, you do need a password manager. I don't know about you, but I can't remember this password, especially for all of the hundreds of websites that I have passwords to. Um, so this is a great way to create a password. But another thing that's really cool about the Bitwarden password generator is this other option here that's called passphrase, which includes random terms separated by a character. You can also add a number in there. You can change the number of terms. And of course, the more terms that you use in this passphrase, the more secure that password will be. And the reason that you might want to use this is if there are places where you log in and you're not able to use a password saver for that, and it is something that you do need to commit to memory. You definitely want to use the random terms. You don't want to include your mother's maiden name in any of these, but these random terms along with the number separated by a specific character, those can be much easier to remember in those cases where you do have to remember a password. So if you've got a website right now, if you're setting it up for the first time, one of the number one things on the list would be to create a password that you don't use anywhere else, and then keep track of that and remember it. uh, the next thing let's move on to is user role management. And so user roles are created by WordPress to give different levels of access to different users depending on what they need. And I've got a great graphic. This is actually a knowledge-based resource that you can access. We'll send it to you in the email after the webinar. But I wanted to go ahead and pull it up here on the screen because it's a great resource for any WordPress user to really understand the difference between some of these. Subscribers. A subscriber is going to be somebody that comes to your website and subscribes to your new blog post so that they can be alerted anytime you post new blog content on your website. A contributor is somebody that's going to contribute content, blog posts, pages to your site, but doesn't need any access to any other parts of your site. So that would be, for example, a guest blogger that you work with on a regular basis, or maybe even a writer that's on your dedicated team for your website, uh, but will never need to edit pages or update a theme. Authors are similar. These people can create posts, approve comments, upload media files, just another step up in what they're allowed to do. Editors, they have access by default to edit pages, add, remove media files. And this is getting a pretty high level of permission. An editor on your website, which is the way that WordPress works by default, really has the permission to do a lot of things. So you want to make sure that people that have this editor user role in place um, really need it. You don't want to give that editor credential to somebody that doesn't need to take those actions. Because even if you trust that person, that's just one more place where a hacker could possibly get into another user that's on your website and have access to place malicious code. And then administrators have a high level of access. They can do almost anything on your website. And so this guide, and I really do encourage you to go and take a look at this guide because it's amazing. It shows you how to add a new user. It shows you how to choose their level. Again, it encourages you to use a strong password for each and every person that you set up. It also shows you how to change a user role. So if you have somebody that maybe you've set up in an admin role because you were just setting up everybody with an admin role when you started your site, and you realize that they only need to be, for example, an author or an editor, you can go right in here and use this guide to learn how to change that. So that's just a little bit on user roles, and again, I do encourage you to visit this guide because there's a lot of information that goes along with that, and these user roles can also be customized. All right, what have we got next on the list? Two-factor authentication. So this is something that a lot of you are probably familiar with because many platforms now, many websites such as Google, are really encouraging users to use this two-factor authentication. And that's the circumstance where when you go to log into your website and you put in a password, the site prompts you to get another factor to enter, either from a text message or from an app that you use, that you have on your phone, such as Duo or Google Authenticator is a very common one. And WordPress doesn't have this functionality by default. So we do need to use a plugin. Oh, and it looks like here, look at this. So I actually, because I didn't have my auto updates installed, I've got two plugins that are out of date. So while we're here, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to update those plugins for security. And then I'm going to show you what we looked at here. So this is WordFence security. Some of you may be familiar with this. Let's actually look at it in, because I want you to see what it looks like in the plugin repository. Here it is right here. So because WordFence there's a few plugins that are related to this, but you want this one that's got this logo right now with this actual fence on here. And WordFence offers a variety of security tools, malware scanner, firewall. Some of those you may already have if you have hosting with EasyWP. But one of the things, I've already got it installed here. One of the things that you can set up is login security. And so once you've got it installed and activated on your website, you simply go over here in your navigation in the WordPress dashboard. You go down here to login security. And then I've got it enabled here. You set up that two-factor authentication. I use an app to get my two-factor codes. You scan once you've got the app installed on your phone, you can just go on here, scan the WordFence code, and it will generate a new one for you every time. And I want to show you just real quickly. Let me take this out because I want to show you what it looks like. Let me share this again, or what a hacker would potentially see if they were trying to log in. So here we go. I think you can see it on your website now. So you see this is the WordPress screen that you offer. I'm here planning to log into my website. And so I click it and it asks for that WordFence two-factor code to be entered. And so if I go in and this is not my code, I'm not pulling this from my app. So I'm a hacker trying to hack into my own site. But as you can see, it gives you the code invalid and it prompts you to try again. And so it definitely slows down any sort of user that thinks that they may have obtained your password, because they would also have to have access to whatever device you've sent that two-factor authentication to. So I hope that makes sense. But once you install WordFence plugin to your website, it will become a lot clearer how to set that up. And the plugin's really good about walking you through the process. So that's a little bit more about two-factor authentication. And I want to demonstrate one more preventative thing that you can do in order to protect your website let me share my screen again. Where's my, here we go. All right, I'm going to share my original screen here again. I think you can see that. So another tool, another plugin that we want to talk about is WPS hide login. So most websites, most WordPress websites by default, the admin screen is set to whatever your domain is, .com, .xyz / WP admin. That's typically what it is by default. And hackers know this. And so if they see that a website is on WordPress, they're going to go to that screen first to try and log in. Well, what's great about this WPS hide login plugin is it allows you to change that to something else. And I'm going to show you how to do that right now. I've already got it installed and activated, but you get that just in the WordPress plugin store, just the way that we searched for WordFence a couple of minutes ago. And then go to the settings, and your general website settings here. And then probably at the bottom of the list is going to be WPS hide login. And if you click that, it'll take you all the way down here. So as you can see, I've got this in place, and the plugin automatically changed that WP-admin URL slug to login. But for even better security, I'm going to change that to something else. And so I'm going to change that to grape jelly. And you just change that right there. It does prompt you to remember and bookmark that, because you will always need that. You will no longer be able to get to your admin screen through your domain / WP-admin. You'll still, with EasyWP, you'll still be able to get to your WordPress website through the EasyWP dashboard. But if you want to go directly to your WordPress site, or if you have another user that's maybe an editor on your site that doesn't have access to your WordPress dashboard, they'll need this login. And so I'm going to come up here. I'm actually going to log out. Oops. I'm going to log out of my website. And I'm going to show you here. So let's just see. I'm a hacker. I'm going to try and go to WP admin. And this actually takes you to the 404 page that I've got set up. And on this website, that's the home page of my demo site. But it will not take you to that login screen. So I have to go to now my new secret one that nobody else knows about, except if they need to, with the my domain / grape jelly. And so I hope that you can understand what that means, which it's just one added layer of protection. It's one more way that you can slow down people that are trying to hack into your website by making the experience that they have, making some of those things that are true across the board for WordPress sites, making them more unique, like a password, like that two-factor authentication, and like that login URL. I'm going to check in with Graham while we reassess the time. Graham, did all that make sense to you?
Yes, totally. Always, everything you say, Rodney, always makes sense to me.
Okay,
And
good.
I'm sure it
Good.
makes sense to everyone else who's joining us today.
Yeah, good. So I think, we want to hop into the Q&A. Let me check with our backstage people. It looks like we're in the process of pulling some winners, but we've still got a few more winners to select. So I'm just going to quickly, before we go into our Q&A, I'm going to talk about some things to do if you've already been hacked. So you could probably see this coming, but change all of your passwords. If you've been hacked, you really need to go in and change all of your passwords. Not only your WordPress password, but any other place, if you were breaking the rules and using a duplicated password, it's really important to change it everywhere that you were using that password. Some premium plugins, email, there's certain things that you may have connected to your WordPress site that have their own passwords. Go ahead and change those as well, because you may not always know where that breach started. And by just changing the password to everything that's related to your WordPress site, you can kind of ensure that anybody that may have captured a compromised password will no longer be able to get in that way. Also, if you didn't have MalwareGuardian in place, turn it on and do a scan. And and see if you can find anything that's there. That tool is made to discover malicious code of many different kinds. And so do a scan with that MalwareGuardian, turn that on, make sure that's working properly. We've talked about backups. So if you've had a breach, one of the first things that you can do after you've changed those passwords is restore that clean backup. That completely reverses any new malicious code that might have been installed. Now, the caveat with this is you need to know that you have a backup that has been in place since before the malicious code was injected into your website. So you would want, if you know when that occurred, if you have a better idea of when you were hacked, you can go back and do a backup from before that. But if you're not exactly sure when the code got added, you may want to do some more investigation before you jump right into a backup. But then updating all of the components as well. So if you did, like I did, you notice that you have a couple of outdated plugins. If you have the auto updates in place, that's less likely to happen. But if you do discover those, update them right away. That will eliminate any vulnerabilities that may have been discovered by hackers in those themes, in those plugins. And those are some simple things to do after um, after you've had a hack. So I think now we can dive into some questions. Do we have some questions lined up, Graham?
Yeah, I think we do. So yeah, we can go into the questions. Just before we do, just like to remind everyone about a special offer we have on these WP plans. You can get up to 75% off our yearly plans. Make sure you use the link that's at the top of the chat to redeem the offer. Don't forget to save the link so you have it handy after the webinar ends. And yeah, I think all this talk, I don't want you guys, all this talk about hacking and security has got me thinking about the great TV show, Mr. Robot. I might have to rewatch it again.
Oh yeah.
But okay, let's go through some of these kind of key questions that we've kind of picked out, which we feel are quite very important, not quite important. So the first one is from Rebecca B. Why would I use WordPress if it's so vulnerable? Good question. Why not use Wix or Squarespace or something else instead?
Well, there's a few good answers to that. One is Squarespace and Wix and other platforms are vulnerable to some breaches as well. Just as easily as can happen on WordPress, if you don't have two-factor authentication set up, for example, you can have a password vulnerability on any platform, any way that you can log in and get into your site. So others are not immune. It is more common on WordPress, but part of the reason is because more than half of the websites in the world are on WordPress. So just by the sheer quantity of WordPress websites out there, they become it becomes a target. But the other reason, just kind of aside from that, is if you practice the things that we talked about here, those do make your website more secure. And arguably, if you take advantage of all the tips and all of the practices that we talked about today, it eliminates the vast majority of any vulnerabilities that your WordPress website would have. And so all of these are good practices. And then you still keep all of those other benefits of WordPress, which are a lower cost hosting in many cases, the other advantages in terms of SEO, in terms of site speed. Wix and Squarespace have a reputation for sometimes being very slow, especially with video content. And there are more tools available because of the entire WordPress ecosystem to be able to install that type of content, have it on your website, keep it really fast, keep it affordable, keep it ultra customizable, and still be secure if you follow these practices.
Yeah, totally agree, Rodney, especially on the last point, especially about the WordPress. Let's not forget the WordPress ecosystem, also a community. It's a massive community, open source, made by users for users, and this is a really, really key advantage. So next question we have is from Kay Miller. It says to have HackGuardian off when performing automatic updates. If we have WordPress auto updates on, is it okay to have HackGuardian on as well at the same time?
You can. Those tools are designed to work together. So if you have HackGuardian in place, and an update is necessary for WordPress core, for a plugin, for a theme, um, our system will temporarily disable the HackGuardian, allow those updates to be installed, and then turn it right back on for you. So yeah, those work together to keep you up to date and protected.
Great. Next question is from Shashank Bhargava. I hope I have the pronunciation correct. Are there any known issues that we should be aware of before enabling the HackGuardian feature, like interference with the existing plugin updates, theme updates, etc.?
No, there's no known issues with enabling HackGuardian, because the way that HackGuardian works, it makes your website, um, the vast majority of files in your website read only until you turn it off to go in and make updates yourself. So it's almost like locking the door to the safe, until you're ready to kind of like go in and pull your important documents out again and update them, sign them, change them. That'd be a way to compare it. Because when somebody comes to your website that's there for no good, their goal, the only way that they're going to get anywhere, with a lot of these types of, for example, an SQL injection or cross-site scripting, the only way they're going to be able to accomplish that is by actually getting files into your database, and HackGuardian stops that. So the simple answer is no, it shouldn't interfere anything with existing plugin updates. Now, if you don't have auto updates installed, like if you don't have that feature active and you log into your website and it's time to update a plugin, so you want to have management, you're logging into your website daily to check, and you want to have a little more hands-on approach, you will have to disable HackGuardian on your own while you make those updates to the plugins and to the theme, and then turn it back on again.
Great, awesome. And we have a question here from Luis Fernando Cames Rojo, I think is the full name. I hope I pronounced that correctly as well. So HackGuardian is enabled for all EasyWP plans?
Yes. Yes, anybody that subscribes to EasyWP hosting can take advantage of it. Absolutely.
Awesome. Thanks, Rodney. And another one from Chuku Innocent. When you change the URL, wouldn't it be crawled by search engines and displayed in search results?
No, because the admin login screen is not set up by default in WordPress to be indexed by search engines. Also, with the way that plugin works, it's really hiding that URL. So no. If you have that in place, it doesn't change the actual domain of your website that the users would come to visit. Only that admin login, which by default is not going to be indexed by Google in the first place. I think that answers the question. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And another question here from Finbar McCarthy. Do you need WordFence if you already required two-factor authentication to log into EasyWP?
So if you only use the EasyWP dashboard to log into your WordPress site, and you haven't set up a separate password to log in directly through the WordPress admin page, I want to be careful about how I answer this. I think the best answer is it's the safest case scenario is always going to be to have 2FA on your WordPress login. But it is possible when you set up a WordPress site with EasyWP that the only way to access is through the dashboard, I believe. So if that's the only way you've ever logged in and you haven't set up a separate credential, I think it would be less important to have WordFence. That being said, WordFence protects you from a lot of other things as well, and there's a lot of really good features that I would recommend taking advantage of. And I think it's always going to be a best practice to have some sort of 2FA, whether you're using WordFence or another security plugin that offers 2FA. I think that's always going to add some extra protection for you on that admin screen, for people trying to log in outside of the EasyWP dashboard.
Great. Thanks, Rodney.
I think we've we've got that one
Yeah.
covered about the URL.
I think we have to be conscious of time a little bit. Oh, maybe we've got time for one more.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it. So another question from Shashank Bhargava. I'm starting a new e-commerce website and still trying to figure out what's the safest and non-complex plugin combination for hosting e-commerce websites, like EasyWP with SSL and HackGuardian for hosting, plus WooCommerce. What would we say to that, do you think, Rodney?
Yeah, so EasyWP, anytime you subscribe to us, the security features that we talked about are available to you. And so there's no additional plugin that you would have to install. Like I mean, WordFence and the plugins that we talked about. But for some of those other things like SSL and the HackGuardian and MalwareGuardian, those are already there. So that's very, very uncomplicated. All you do is click to have them on and make sure that they're there. With the SSL, you just make sure that that's turned on and active on your website. WooCommerce can also be installed very, very easily. So all of these are absolutely compatible with WooCommerce, and they're compatible with other e-commerce platforms that you might use. Woo is the most common that we see, but all of these will work with any themes, any other systems, any other plugins that you have installed on your website. I suppose there may be, like I can't always speak exactly for some of the third-party plugins that we don't develop ourselves, and that compatibility. But as far as I know, that's all very compatible with WooCommerce, and you shouldn't have any trouble with that. So I think that the list of things that you've posed in your question here, using those together, are absolutely a great hassle-free, safe, non-complex combo. Just because so many of them, when you use EasyWP hosting, are there with no additional installation.
Awesome. Thanks, Rodney. And yeah, I think looking at the time, that was our last question. So thank you, everyone, for all those really, really insightful and sometimes difficult to answer questions. But we've tried our best to answer them as fully as possible. I think it's time to go and have a look who's won the prizes. So I think first we can reveal who are the 5 winners of the free EasyWP Turbo yearly plans. And the winners are Rima O, Rich Holt, Daniel Zadva Jr., Jamsed B, and Anya Sayadian. I hope I pronounced those right. So excellent.
Finger snaps to those winners.
Excellent. And the lucky winner of $50 Namecheap account credit goes to Evelyn Williams. Congratulations to all you guys. And I think, Rodney, we need a big drum roll from you for the
Okay. Close enough.
The big winner for today of the $100 gift card is Rufus Mabe.
All right. I need a $100 gift card. I'm gonna attend the next one and register to win.
Yeah, it's a good idea. Excellent stuff.
Yeah. So I think we're kind of wrapping up. I do want to mention that a lot of the information that we had today will recap for you. If you registered for this webinar, we'll make sure that you have links to a lot of the resources that we used, so you can continue, learning more about all the topics we covered today. And I think that might be it, Graham. And do you have anything else? It was great hosting with you today. We've worked together and been in many meetings together over the years, but it was fun to sort of be on here with all of the rest of the world today.
Yeah, same here. And then it's great to see so many people joining us from so many different places, far and wide, all over the globe. Really, really enjoyable experience for me. So thanks a lot again, guys, to all you who were on the call. Yeah, see you next time. Hopefully, I'll definitely be up for doing this again.
Yeah. Congrats to the winners, and let's do this again soon, Graham. So everybody, pay attention to your WordPress dashboard for the notification the next time we have a good topic to share with you.
Exactly. Thanks a lot, guys.
See ya.
Bye-bye.